We're going to do this Excel functions assignment together. Once it's opened in Excel, please save as or save a copy, your last name, Fun21. We're going to do this Excel functions assignment together. Once it's opened in Excel, please save as, click the cloud. Don't forget to pop it into your OneDrive. Fun21. Last name, Fun21. Save as, click the cloud. Don't forget to pop it into your OneDrive. On this practice activity today, there are 3 different worksheet tabs posted at the very bottom here of our window. Okay, this workbook has 3 worksheet tabs. The first one is a purchase order. Okay, this is the same kind of gig that we had last week when we worked for the catering company. All right, now we're placing orders from our distributors to get these different items in our stock. So we posted out all the things we're ordering, how many, how much they cost each, what the line total is, and then we started to post so that we could track this for the future, for reference in the future, the date that we ordered and the date that it got delivered to our facility. Okay, good to know, good data to have, like if you're ever in a pinch and you're like, I really need that 1 gallon of medium salsa. I wonder if I would get it in time for this big event. Well, you'll be able to find out how many days it takes between ordering and delivery on this purchase order so that you can look at it at another time. Okay, down toward the bottom here, there's a purchase order summary. So we're going to find out using functions how many total items were ordered, what the most expensive item was, and the average amount of days in transit. How long on average does it take for our stuff to get delivered to our facility? Okay, a couple things, just reminders. I'm going to be using these words, functions, all the time, right? And arguments. Again, arguments are those cell references. The door not closed? Oh, it closed. Are the cell references, so the column and the row together, that will tell the computer what cells of data we're actually talking about. Okay, let's get started. All right, the first thing we're going to do, and this is kind of a repeat of the video, we're going to find here on our purchase order the total amount of this order. Okay, how much did this cost in total? Using a formula, it would take us a while because we'd have to click on all whatever, 10 of these rows and keep clicking the plus sign. That's kind of annoying. But let's begin by selecting and activating cell D13. To insert functions, we're going to go to the formulas ribbon menu. So at the very top, we'll go to formulas. All right, there's actually an easier way. We know that we're doing addition here. You don't even have to really get this drop down here. If you just come up on the sigma on top of auto sum, that's the command for sum. You could just click right on it. Look at it, shows you, it bumped it over to the side just so that you could easily see the data above it. But you didn't even have to do the equal sign. It automatically includes it for you. So it's telling us in cell D13, we're going to post the sum of cells D3 through D12. Make sure the selection is accurate, and when it is, you can hit enter on your keyboard. We're going to post the sum of cells D3 through D12. Didn't even have to type anything in. Isn't that amazing? Like, again, if there were 700 items on here, all you have to do was go in that bottom cell, hit that sum command, and double check to make sure it did capture all of the cells above that you want to add, and then hit enter. And it's done in a second.
Miss Moss, we can't really see your screen.
You can't see my screen?
Barely, I think.
We see some D3, D12.
Miss Moss, we can't really see your screen.
You can't see my screen?
Barely,
Now on my OBS, it's showing pretty much right on time here what I'm seeing on my screen, where my mouse is just moving around here. You're not seeing that?
No, I see this equals sum D3, D12 arguments.
How about anybody else at home? Are you seeing my Excel spreadsheet open here with my mouse moving on it?
Yeah.
That could just be a you problem, buddy. Maybe refresh or exit the call and rejoin.
Alright.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay, really quickly, there's another shortcut to do an auto sum where you don't have to go up into your ribbon and click on that sigma command. Check this out.
AutoSum is a fast, easy way to add up multiple values, and it can be used by anyone, even if you're a beginner at Excel. There is an AutoSum command on the Home tab, but I'm going to show you a keyboard shortcut that makes it even faster. First, select the cell where you want the sum to appear, and then on your keyboard press Alt equals. So I'm holding down the Alt key and pressing the equals sign. It will add a sum function to the cell, and it will also automatically select the adjacent cells to use in the sum function. All we have to do now is press enter, and our total will appear. The other way to use AutoSum is to select the values that you want to add. And when you use this method, Excel will put the total in the cell immediately after your selection. So we'll use our keyboard shortcut again, Alt equals, and there's our total. So this keyboard shortcut makes things just a little bit faster, but if you use AutoSum a lot, those time savings are really going to add up.
Remember I told you about the people who work in financing, accounting fields and how they all flex on like, I only use my keyboard. How cool is that though? Let's just test it. So let's select again cell D13. And when it's selected, just backspace to get rid of the function. So now it's just empty again. Activate cell D13 and let's try that keyboard shortcut. You're going to hold Alt on your keyboard and click the equal sign and then hit enter. Activate cell D13 and let's try that keyboard shortcut. Super awesome. Alt equals is a very useful keyboard shortcut. And then hit enter. All right.
I don't know if I'm just blind, but I don't see Alt on the keyboard.
It's right next to the left of your spacebar, isn't it? ALT.
Would be Command for Mac.
Oh, you're on a Mac. Yes.
Okay.
Try Command equals.
Pretty sure command.
Did it work? Maybe it
Command
didn't
is the
work.
equivalent of control.
Yeah, you're right. No, Alt should be on there. Is it an FN and an Alt button mixed?
What's next to it? I'm looking up a Mac keyboard. Oh come on, I clicked something.
Don't do it on a Mac then. Just do the regular auto sums.
Looking up a Mac keyboard. Come on, click something. Now let's see, what is there? Oh, I think according to I looked up Mac keyboard and it says option overall. Now let's see, what is there?
But that's okay, because isn't it?
I think I might have found it.
Oh, because this is a function.
That's a formula, yeah. So you wanted to do equals, but that's okay.
So don't.
Actually undo, like click off of it. Just click.
Oh,
Escape. That's a formula. Escape again. Oh, it's good.
Okay, moving on. Let's do that thing that they showed us in that first video about finding how many days it takes for the stuff to be delivered after we order it. Okay, so we're going to activate cell G3, right under that heading called in transit. G3. Okay, so up in our formulas ribbon menu, they give us all these kinds of options. And you have to just kind of use deductive reasoning sometimes too. Like if I'm trying to find out an amount of days, that's probably going to be inside the section called date and time. Okay, so if you click that drop down, we know because we saw the video that network days is the function we want to use. So click on network days. And this pop-up menu, I would suggest, like on mine currently, it's hiding my data. I'm going to move it off to the side so I could see my data better. If you can do that, that's going to help you. All right, so it's telling us here, it's going to show us the number of days, work days between two dates. All right, so start date is a required field here. It's in bold. I'm going to click on cell E3, which is the start date of when I ordered my tomatoes. So click on E3, and it will automatically fill in the field here next to start date. Let's go into the end date field. The end date for this row of data is the received date, which is F3. If you click on F3 on the actual worksheet, it'll fill in F3 inside that field. So just double check your function arguments for the function network days should have a start date of E3 and an end date of F3. Why wouldn't we just type in like the dates? Because if the days get changed for whatever reason on our spreadsheet by some outside database, it will not keep accurate information. We always want to use the cell references, right? Let's hit OK here. And we'll see that yes, there were 4 days between when we ordered and received the tomatoes.
Let's hit OK here. And we'll see that
right, it counts the date of the order and the date it's received, okay, inside our span here. Right, so we want to do the same thing for all of these, and we're just going to use that fantastic Harry Potter's wand, the force, the fill handle. So hover your mouse over the bottom right corner of this cell G3 until you get the plus sign. Click hold and drag. And now we know how long it takes us between our order date and receival of these different items. Mira.
Okay, I just noticed when it does that, the bottom two for like the salsa and olive oil have the same start date and different end dates that are both live.
Wow.
Yeah, same thing for the second one. It's plus 2 days, but it's only plus 1 in the transit.
Here's why. Very smart of you to even notice that, because what if that completely screwed up your data? If I select the actual dates that are used on this old practice document, it's the year 2015. So in October of 2015, there was probably like a weekend in here somewhere. Okay, and the network days function told us that it's only using work days. So it would only be Monday through Fridays being calculated. All right, if we changed all these dates to be 2021, it would be completely different. But very smart catch. All right, let's scooch down here to this little tiny table that gives us our purchase order summary. I'm going to kind of minimize the size of mine so we can see it better.
All right, let's scooch down here to this little tiny table.
Okay, let us click on the cell B17. So right next to here where it says total items ordered, B17. We're trying to find out the total quantity of packages we're going to get, right? Well, here's our quantity column. So I know that the sum I'm looking for will be the sum of these quantities. How many boxes am I getting? So again, to find the sum and insert the function, I can just come up into my formulas ribbon menu and click on the sigma for the sum command. Boom. Look what happens. The selection it chooses is everything above it. Well, clearly we don't want these 4 cells to be included, right? So you could click here. Whoops. Click here where you want to start and then drag up so that you only have selected and highlighted B3 through B12. If you're not a person who wants to click and drag, you could have always come into our formula bar up here and just typed in the cells B3 through B12. What if it was B3 through B767? You could type in those numbers so you don't have to drag through that many rows of data. Okay, so once we have in cell B17 equals sum, parentheses, B3 through B12, hit enter, and we'll find that we are going to be receiving 55 packages in this delivery.
17 equals sum
All right, we've been using some. We use this network days thing, which is kind of an uncommon, but a more common function that might come up is wanting to find out the largest number, okay, or the greatest amount, or the highest quantity of something. Okay, so here in cell B18, we're going to insert a function by going to the drop down under here, under the auto sum. Get that drop down. And we see some commonly used functions. We have sum, we have average, counting numbers, max, and min. If I wanted to find the most expensive item when I'm looking at unit prices, which one of these little function words or labels do you think would give us the highest or most expensive? Luca. Max. So I'm going to click here on max. Now, the computer doesn't know what data we're talking about. The max of what? I'm going to be really smart, but I need to know what you want me to look at first, it's saying. Well, I'm going to come up here in this formula bar. It's just easier sometimes when you're working in cramped spaces to type it in manually here. The numbers that we're actually looking at are the unit prices for our items. What's the most expensive item out of these 10 things? So I'm going to change my arguments to be cell C3 through C12. So click on the beginning cell, hit the colon on your keyboard, which is, you need to make sure you're hitting shift, and then click on the bottom. Hit enter, and you get the answer. The most expensive item that we're ordering is $28.69. It happens to be the olive oil. Hit enter, and you get the answer. The most expensive item that we're ordering is $28. All right, last thing we're going to put in here, the average days in transit. Like, this would be a nice, easy, quick look for us if we're wanting to place an order and we can, like, kind of determine, on average, how long does it take to get them. Paul.
Oh, sorry, but on the last formula, it was C3 and what was the other one?
We have to do colon to get the through, and then it was C12.
Oh, sorry, but on the
So I want to know the average amount of days that things take to get delivered. So I'm going to select B19. I'm going to go into my auto sum drop down because I know average is one of the most commonly used, and it's in this little menu. So I'll select average. And I need to tell the computer what my arguments are. And my arguments are these cells, right? It's going to be G3 colon G12. I'm looking for the average of these numbers to find out what the average amount of days it takes to get things delivered. Hit enter, and we find out that 3.8 days is about the average delivery time, the wait time from point of order until it's inside my facility. Cool. Now, if this outside database was making any kind of changes on this thing, all of these new little function cells that I just incorporated will be automatically updated and always be accurate because we're using cell references and not just the hard data. Question, Alex.
Well, I feel like when I try writing out a formula function, a white bar appears above bar, so I can't drag the bar and bar.
Yeah, on some people's devices it does that. It like kind of takes up more space. In that case, you're going to have to manually type in your arguments, okay, the cells that you want to include inside that function. You can even type them up here in that formula bar, okay, up at the top. All right, y'all, let's move on. We have a new type of worksheet to look at. Down in your worksheet tabs, click on cookie sales. And actually, after you do that, why don't you even just on your keyboard do a Control S just to make sure that your most recent work is all saved. You don't want to miss out on all of that.
Just got spam save.
Spam save.
Now my computer's lagging. Don't think I should have done it 100 times.
All right, so what we're looking at here, my voice is like going. We are keeping track of different, maybe like Girl Scout cookie sales or something here, the Frontier Kids cookie sales. And I'm kind of just making a spreadsheet to track, like I have the troop names, what their troop ID is, and then how many units or boxes of cookies that troop sold. Okay, so what I'm trying to do here in this average unit is find out for all of these different troops that I'm kind of managing as like the southwest suburbs of Chicago Girl Scouts of America leader. Like, I just want to know, how are we doing kind of in general? All right, so let's click on C10. And we're going to go up into our formulas ribbon and select the drop down under auto sum and go to average. And this one is nice. It works out very clean because it's selecting the data just directly above, right? Perfect. So our arguments are C3 through C9. Remember she showed us in the video that there was another way to do this, which you could try. Okay, I'm going to, whoops, just backspace that. And she said in the video that what you could do is when you have a smaller amount of data like this, you could just select the different cells and then put the function, and it's going to automatically post it right beneath where you select it. Okay, so that's going to give you the same exact answer, but just two different ways of doing it. There is a keyboard shortcut for finding average, max, min, all of these different functions, but we don't need to know those. Not bad. Like the average amount of boxes of cookies for all these different troops is 849. We're killing it. Go Girl Scouts. Let's hit up this challenge. I love this part.
I forgot how to do this.
Okay, so what you're doing now, you're a teacher. You're a teacher and you're tracking in a spreadsheet all of your students' quiz and test scores. This part, it's outside of like the parent portal. Okay, this is not just for the students and the parents to know how kids are doing. This is for you as the professional who wants to get better at your craft and teaching to just kind of analyze your own data. Like the test scores, if you're a good teacher, the test scores of your students should be an indication of how you're teaching. Okay, if everyone fails a test, I'm going to take that on me. All right, I don't blame it on the kids for all not being smart, right? I'm going to figure in my head, I must have failed somewhere. Like I must have missed something in my instruction or maybe misrepresented information on the quiz or test. And I know you guys have teachers who don't do that. Like if everyone failed, they would be like, I can't believe everyone failed. It's like, take a look in the mirror. Do you have a question?
How do I select multiple things without just copying it?
Select multiple things?
Yes.
If you're up in that
I'm
formula
still in the
bar.
last one. Because I'm still in the last one, and you're supposed to select them.
Oh.
I keep just putting like 1004.
Yeah, you could just make your cursor like kind of this big cross like that, and you click and drag.
That just turns everything into 1004. There's 1,000.
We'll come back to that at the end, Alex. I want to move along here, okay? Come down to challenge with me. All right, so I'm doing this for my own good. I want to try and become a better teacher. Let's go through all the different things we want to include here. In cell F3, we want to find the average of these 4 assessment scores for Jackson Love, my student here. Okay, I'm going to go up to my auto sum drop down because I know average is a commonly used function. I'll select it, and the computer Excel did a great job of kind of inferring the information or the data I wanted to include. So yes, it's selected B3 through E3. That's all of my test data. I can now hit enter. Inferring the information or the data I wanted to include. So yes, it's selected. So Jackson's average, 80.75. I wouldn't really say that's fantastic. But I want to find out the average for all of my students. I'm going to select cell F3. 80.75. Use the force. grab your fill handle and drag it
If I
down.
wanna find out the average for all of my students, I'm gonna select cell F3. Use the force. Grab your fill handle.
There are so many different things I could do to this data, and we're going to talk about tables and filtering tomorrow, but I'm just leaving it as it is right now. I'm pretending that the way that the students' names are listed has some kind of meaning to me because I don't know what it is. It's not alphabetical. Maybe it's the way that they're seated in numbers in the rows and the desks or something, but whatever. I have all this data here, and I'm going to find different ways to analyze it in a minute. Okay. Now let's look at these different assessments individually. So going down these columns, I have Unit 1 Quiz 1, Unit 1 Test, Unit 2 Quiz 1, Unit 2 Quiz 2. I want to determine the lowest score in the class on each of these assessments, the highest score on these 4 assessments, and also the median score. Do you guys remember in math what the median means?
The highest score on these 4 assessments.
Mira.
And also,
It's like the one right in the middle.
you guys
Yeah,
remember
so you
One,
guys know
three,
like
four.
on a street, when you have like highway traffic, that like grassy knoll in the middle is called the median. It's because that's the number that if you take all of them, that's the one that's gonna be right in the center.
when you have
I always remember the difference of mean, median, and mode. Like mean is the same thing as average. And in my head, I was always like, okay, averaging is like what teachers do to find out scores for kids, and teachers are mean. That's how I remembered it. Median is like that center of the road. Okay, so let's go here. Let's do this. Let's put our cursor in B18. In B18, I'm going to use a commonly used function. I'm going to go in this drop down for auto sum. And which word would mean lowest? Or which label? Min for minimum. Give it a click. It's going to insert the function. And to me, it looks like it did select the correct arguments, B3 through B17. If you have that correct, you can hit enter on your keyboard.
And to me, it looks like it did select the correct argument, B3 through B17.
Whoa,
If you have that
54.
correct, you can hit enter on your keyboard.
It's pretty low, but I mean, it's like they got, the lowest kid got half of the test right, or quiz. All right, let's now be fancy. I don't know if we've done this yet, where we use the fill handle going horizontally across. So I want to find out the lowest score for the next 3 assessments and the lowest average. So I'm going to grab my fill handle and move to my right over the next 4 columns and release.
And the lowest average. So I'm going to grab my fill handle and move to
And
my
this
right.
is troubling to me, the 45%. But we need to look and see what the highest score is. Maybe, I don't know, we'll find out. Let's skip over median and go down to highest score. So let's activate cell B20. B20. I'm going to go up into my formulas, the drop down under auto sum, and select the formula, or I'm sorry, the function that means the biggest or highest. That's max. Now, look what happened. In the arguments, it selected and included cell B18. Where's my mouse? Lost my mouse. Do you see how it selected B18 and B19? We actually don't want to include those in this data because what we're really wanting information for is just the student scores. We don't want to incorporate other calculated data. All right, so I want to make sure that I'm selecting just the student scores so that my arguments are B3 through B17. When you have the function max with the arguments B3 through B17, hit enter on that keyboard.
When you have the function max.
And we're going to select it again and use our fill handle and drag across the next 4 columns and release to get the highest score in each.
And we're going to select it again and use our fill handle and drag across the next four.
Okay, the reason I left median for the end is because median is not listed in our like commonly used section. Okay, so let us select
The reason I left median
B19.
is because median is not listed.
This time I'm going to grab that drop down. Well, I lie. Let's go over here. Let's go to where it says insert function, all the way on the left of our ribbon, and click there. We're going to use this little search box and just type in the word median.
All the way on the left of our ribbon. And click there. We're going to use this little search box and just
Type in the search median and click go. And it's going to give us a recommended list of things that do what a median does, and the top one happens to be median. Make sure you have that in the select a function. Median is blue highlighted, and then click OK. Our next pop-up is going to ask us for the arguments. What is the median, like what range of data are we trying to look for? Well, for us, we wanted to be B3
Our next pop-up is going to
colon
what
B17.
What range of data are we trying to look for?
So when I'm looking here at this pop-up, all I have is B3 colon B17. In my formula bar at the top, I can see the whole function written out. It has equal, median, parentheses, B3 through B17, close parentheses. It looks good, so I'm going to hit enter.
I can see the whole function written out.
So the middle of the road score on quiz 1 for unit 1 was 90. I'll take it. It's an A minus. It's not bad, right? Use that fill handle again. Click, drag across, and release to autofill.
It's an A minus. It's not bad, right? Use that fill handle again. Click.
Just like last week when we did formulas, guys, when I correct these assignments, I don't go through and I don't look at every single cell that we worked on, but I'm going to go do spot checks for sure. I open up your assignment and I click on any cell down here in this section. I better see a function up in that formula bar. If I just see the answer 86 in the formula bar, that means that you did not do the assignment. You just copied the numbers after you saw what I did on my page. Okay, all of these need to have, when I go into the actual assignment that you post out, have to have the functions showing up in the formula bar for these different areas. Does anyone need anything repeated from these 3 worksheet tabs? Right.
I can't find it. Like the document, where is it?
You mean like this whole assignment?
Yeah.
It's in assignments.
I'm in it.
In the assignment called functions.
Document, where is it?
And there's a document attached in there.
That one.